Well, this is what I've baptised the chicken caterpillar. It's like a chicken tractor, but it's bigger, like a caterpillar. You know, a caterpillar earth moving machine is bigger than a tractor, but it's also called a caterpillar because it crawls along, and it's full of chickens. And it's this is the Mark 1 prototype, which has already got a Mark 2 evolution in it, which I'm going to show you in a minute. The idea is that it's lots of cages stuck one after the other, 1.54 m wide. Was aiming for 1.50 m, but in the making you can see here these frames. I wanted all the bars to be the same length to make the manufacturing easier, so I was on 60 centimetres. Finally, having made my prototypes in the workshop, metalwork's not my strong point. I made them with very heavy rebar, lots of cutting, lots of welding, and I've now delegated that out to a metal worker who really knows what he's doing, and he's done that with a lighter rebar. These ones here, these black ones, and he's heating that and twisting it, bending it, to make the arches out of one piece. So we stayed at the 1.54 so that we can still fit them onto the ones that I've made, and we'll keep it at that size. And then they're 1 metre long. Now the big difference, not only on weight and strength, because the ones made by Jean Noël are lighter and stronger. My ones weigh 12 kilos, his ones weigh 8 kilos. But it means we can also overlap them because they haven't got the bracing. Because there's no weld here in this corner, you don't need the bracing to stop it from popping apart. So here we can see that without that bracing, I can cross them over and make it turn slightly. So we can turn, that's about an 11-degree turn off of this pivot here, and we can go up to about 22 degrees. We're going to make some 22-degree modules. This is a 45-degree module, so it's two hoops welded together with about a 1.50 m bar instead of a 1 metre bar. And then it closes into a point, and that allows us to turn 45 degrees. So you can see there's a cage at the end with a stop end on it, and we go down this way, and you can really see why I call it the caterpillar, because it twists and turns, and it goes pretty much anywhere. Obviously you need to design around it, or this would be your drawing tool for drawing your paths on the land. And the idea of this is manifold. First of all, I wanted a chicken tractor that would be able to go on contour. So we can now go out into the field, we'll be starting that in September, tracing out the contour lines to be destined to become hedges, which will then become a livestock system with 3-day grazing for cows. And we're going to be planting over 2 kilometres of hedgerow over the next 3 years, and we're going to be using these chicken caterpillars to plant these hedgerows. And we'll be starting the hedgerows with vegetables, following the succession, using annual crops, biannual crops, then planting perennials and the trees, and following the succession through, using the chickens as a stripper, a strimmer, a mulch turner, fertilizer. You can see, look, they're in there scratching away, finding what they can, and then every 3 days I move them along. See that? Scratch, 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 scratch. So we've got chickens in pretty good health. It does seem small, but there's enough space to run around. If somebody wants their own space, they can always go up the other end. We've got one up the other end. We're going to go round through the vegetable garden, and we can also use this on the vegetable garden because the raised beds are 150 wide, so we can, in between 2 crops, like after a potato harvest, we can always plug the chicken caterpillar onto a raised bed, and have them work the soil over, get rid of any nasty beasties that we want to reduce the population. This is the house at the other end. The house is raised up on a trailer, so we've got the adapter cage, which is slightly higher, and we can plug the trailer onto that. The trailer's got, it's a little tiny trailer. You need to have something with some fairly decent wheels on it, because the chickens do scrape holes in the land, what they call in French a chicken nest, where they'll scrape that hole and then rub themselves in the dust. And when you're following along in your own wake, you close the door, move all the cages along a bit, and then you pull the trailer along to hitch back on and plug onto the tunnel. And so you do have some bumps, so you need some pretty good wheels. We've got a veranda as well, so that means that the chickens can come out. They can sit there on that stage. If it's raining, there's always some shade. We're going to make some veranda cages as well, which will be part of it. So we have some cages with a sheet over the top of the wire. And on the veranda cage on the house, because it's waterproof, well, you have to put a gutter on it, don't you? So when it rains, these two water troughs fill up. Obviously there we're on a bit of a slope, but when we're on the contour line, obviously we're following the contour line, so the trailer's on a level, and then those two fill up, and that also allows me to know whether I'm on contour or not by seeing how the water's sitting in the trough. If the trailer's perfectly level with the adapter cage and the rest of the tunnel. This side, we've got the little house, little wooden door, and then inside some perches, little nesting box, and then there's the internal door that goes between the two parts. Close the door. And the internal door gets opened, can be opened from the outside with very little problem. Just a little bar here and some electric wire. You pull there, and that opens the trap inside, and there's two bits of electric wire and a stick the other side. You can pull on it to close it. So you can actually lift up one of the cages at the other end and crawl along the tunnel, or send the children in there. I'm thinking about getting a dog now. Train a dog to go in the tunnel and advance very slowly to bring the chickens all the way to the end. They all go into the house, pull the door shut, and then move the tunnel, and then push the house along, plug the house onto the tunnel, open the door, and then they're off again, which is what we've just done. So now I'm going to show you what can be done with it. In Strimmer Mode, you can see here I've got some rough scrubland, it's long grass, a buddleia, a bit of comfrey, and some bracken. I want to be able to use this for my ducks, which are over there behind plastic movable wire, which we use as well. We've got a couple of teams of chickens with small movable houses and a roll of wire. So the roll of wire is 50 metres long. So we can trace out, we can work out on the land what's the perimeter, and then put the chicken caterpillar on the perimeter to strim. So as we go back this way, I'm going to go back on myself, you can see here it's all strimmed out nicely. So now that when I come along with my roll of wire, if I've got really long high grass, which I haven't here, but that means that I can get my roll of wire and I can lay my fence out nice and easy without getting the strimmer and without having any trouble struggling in the long grass, which on the other piece of land will be the case. Down here it's a bit scrubby because we haven't done anything with it. So here's what we did last week. So we've strimmed out the perimeter, okay, all the way around, and then we've brought in the duck house. So there's a little portable duck house and a portable duck bath, which obviously we empty before moving it, and then they can always get in there, have a swim, have a dive, and they've got fresh grass to eat. So I can now up the number of ducks now that the moving along's a bit easier, and get that a bit more intensive. And the third application is this. So you can put your chicken caterpillar on contour, do your central line, the line that you want to grow on. You can move it to the left without moving the house, because we've got those 45-degree modules. So if we've got 4 45-degree modules, we can do an S and then just move the cage and trim out a path, an access path either side, so that we can get in and out nice and easy without getting ticks and all sorts of stuff, and wet boots and wet legs. And while they're either left or right, to bring in lots of organic matter, which we could just scythe off in the land either side, concentrate the organic matter back on the middle line while they're either left or right, and then put them back on the organic matter, preferably having let it rot a little bit first. Once that's rotted, if that was fresh straw, they don't like it so much, but these were straw bales that we pulled out for a party to sit around the fire, and the party got rained off a bit, and so those straw bales got left out in the rain for 2 days, and then it was like, well, they're wet now. So they got left out for about 2 weeks, and I put the chickens on there in their caterpillar, and they just absolutely loved it. They've stripped that over. The grass is growing back because we're in the height of summer, and I put them back on there this winter to strip that right back, and then we'll grow some potatoes in the mulch. We'll open the soil up with a fork to let all that life go down. Put the chickens back on. They'll take out all the wheat seeds, all the grass seeds. They'll eat a little bit of the worms as well, and then that life will come back in there. And then after the potatoes, we can fork that through again. We can put corn salad, broad beans and spinach, or we could put leeks if we get the potatoes out early enough. And then during that winter, we can start planting up. We can start putting in hazelnut and fruit trees, hawthorn, and start planting up for hedgerows, multi-stage hedgerows, on the food forest principle, with a canopy tree every 7 metres. So it'll be a fruit tree or a hazelnut that we leave go to full height, and then filling in the space, lots of flowers, buddleias, forsythias, and really get that landscape nice and colourful, colour switching from one season to the next. Lots of work for the bees, lots of honey, lots of nuts, lots of fruit, and it's all working on its own thereafter. So there you go. That's the chicken caterpillar. It's not often that I do a video in English because I live in France, so working locally, so most of the videos are in French, but there are a couple of videos on the YouTube channel in English if you want to see the drawings and how we're planning to do the system afterwards, and everything's going ahead full steam. Just look at that, snaking its way up the side of the garden to cross the road. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because it was in a chicken caterpillar. Have a nice day.